I used to believe Dylan Carter was mine forever. Back then, before the fame, before the show, before everything fell apart, it was just the two of us. He would show up outside my apartment with takeout in one hand and flowers in the other, grinning like a fool. We spent lazy Sundays sprawled on my couch, arguing about which movie to watch until he finally gave in and let me pick. Sometimes he'd drag me out at midnight for milkshakes because he knew I had a craving, and he'd insist on singing along loudly badly to whatever was on the radio. One of my favorite memories is a rainy night when the power went out. I was panicking, fumbling for candles, and he just grabbed my wrist, spun me around in the dark and said, "Dance with me." We laughed until my cheeks hurt, shuffling clumsily across the living room floor while rain drummed against the windows. He kissed me like I was his whole world. Thought he was my whole world too. Which is why walking into the set of Love Signals, a live dating reality show, and seeing him again nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. I had signed up for this chance to reset my life, maybe even to prove to the world that I was more than a forgettable actress drifting from one minor role to another. Instead, the moment I walked into the villa, I saw Dylan sitting casually on the sofa like it was the most natural thing in the world. My Dylan. No, not mine anymore. I forced myself to smile, to act like seeing him didn't feel like being struck by lightning. The cameras caught everything. The producers wanted 8 of us, 4 men and 4 women, all locked in a villa while the world watched us stumble through games, meals, and the messy business of love. What they got was a circus. And I'll tell you why. Dylan Carter. 27, golden boy of the industry. The kind of man whose smile sells movies before they're even filmed. Fans adore him, directors worship him, and his fan base would happily chew me up and spit me out if they knew we used to date. To them, he was untouchable. To me, he was the boy who broke my heart. Then there was Jamie Summers. 24, rising actress, Dylan's co-star in last year's smash drama. The internet called them the perfect couple, and Jamie thrived on it. She had that innocent laugh, that flawless timing, and a way of looking at Dylan that sent fans into hysterics. What most people didn't see was how she played her cards, always the sweet girl in public, always careful to cut you down when no one was looking. She had been stepping on me for years, and here in the villa, she smelled blood in the water. Nicholas Brooks was nothing like the others. 26, indie actor with no big scandals and no screaming fan clubs. He was quiet, awkward, and almost shy, the kind of man who would notice if you were shivering and silently hand you his jacket without saying a word. He wasn't flashy, but there was something about his gentleness that made you want to lean closer. The rest of the cast rounded out the chaos. Mason Lee, a tech entrepreneur with a smile that screamed, "Trust me," and a closet full of designer sneakers. Oliver Grant, a professional chef who flirted with every girl while bragging about his knife skills. Sophia Hale, a fashion influencer who could end your entire reputation with a single Instagram caption. And Rachel Adams, a lawyer with eyes sharp as a blade, the kind of woman who could cut through you without raising her voice. On paper, it was an even mix. 4 men, 4 women, all with their quirks and ambitions. But in reality, from the moment the cameras started rolling, the entire world's attention locked onto only one couple, Dylan and Jamie. When it came time for the introductory interviews, I played it safe. The producer smiled at me from behind the camera. Charlotte Walker. Actress. 25. Why are you here? I adjusted the hem of my skirt, made sure my voice didn't shake. I've been acting for a few years now. I thought this would be a good way to step outside my comfort zone. To meet new people. To try something different. And your relationship history? I hesitated, then let a polite smile tug at my lips. Yes, I've been in love before. It lasted a few years, but we weren't right for each other. Personalities clashed. We broke up. They're simple, respectable, non-scandalous. Then it was Dylan's turn. He lounged back in his seat like he owned the place, one arm draped across the sofa, eyes glinting as if he were already plotting something. Dylan Carter, the producer said. Actor. 27. Tell us, have you ever been in love? Yes, Dylan said smoothly. For 3 years. She was everything. The air shifted. Everyone leaned in. And what happened? The producer asked eagerly. She's my ex now, Dylan replied. He paused, his gaze flickering toward me for half a second before snapping back to the camera. His lips curved into that infuriating smirk. And she's here. On this show. The room erupted. Mason let out a low whistle. Oliver leaned forward, grinning. No way. Your ex is here. Jamie gave a delicate laugh, eyes sparkling like she'd already claimed the role. She slid closer to Dylan on the sofa, their shoulders brushing. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure the microphones would pick it up. I kept my expression neutral, forcing myself to stay still while the crew buzzed with excitement. "Can you tell us who she is?" the producer pressed. Dylan's smirk deepened. "You'll find out. Soon enough." The cameras swung around, capturing every shocked face, every dramatic reaction. And, of course, when the footage hit the livestream, the internet went wild. Within minutes, hashtags crowned Jamie as Dylan's Mystery X fan pages exploded with theories. Not a single person thought of me. Not one. The interviews ended, but the damage was already done. By the time we gathered in the living room to wait for room assignments, the live stream was exploding. I could see the giant screen the producers had set up, comments flying so fast they blurred together. "It has to be Jamie. Dylan's ex is totally his co-star, come on." They had insane chemistry in that drama, I knew it was real. The rumors were true. I forced my gaze away from the screen, pretending I didn't see it. Pretending the words didn't burn. Jamie, of course, was thriving. She tossed her glossy hair, laughed at something Dylan said, and leaned just a little too close to him. She looked like she belonged in his world, like she'd been cut from the same piece of silk. When the producers finally told us to sort out our rooms, Jamie's voice chimed out, sweet as sugar. "Charlotte," she said, her tone light and playful, "why don't we room together? It's been so long since we spent proper time together. We could catch up like old friends." My stomach twisted. Old friends. Right. What the cameras didn't know was that Jamie had always loved using me as her prop. She'd play the caring friend on screen while making sure the edit cut me down. I had learned that lesson the hard way. I gave her my most polite smile. "Let's draw lots. Keep it fair." For a split second her smile froze, but she covered it quickly. "Of course. Whatever makes you comfortable." The chat lit up immediately. Did Charlotte really just reject Jamie's kindness? Who does she think she is? So fake, acting polite for the cameras, but her attitude is rotten. Get this girl off the show, she's dragging the mood down. I clenched my fists at my sides but didn't let my face falter. The cameras loved this kind of thing and I wasn't about to hand them my weakness. We drew lots. By some miracle I ended up paired with Sophia Hale, the influencer. Not my favorite choice, but better than being stuck with Jamie. She fluttered her lashes, acting like the rejection hadn't touched her, then walked straight to Dylan and plopped down beside him, looping her arm casually along the back of the sofa. The comments went wild again. "She and Dylan are perfect together. Imagine if she really is the ex. This would be the biggest romance comeback ever." Meanwhile, my name barely flickered across the feed except when paired with insults. The cameras panned across the room, capturing every smile and laugh, every carefully orchestrated gesture. Me. I sat there, spine straight, face calm, pretending I wasn't collapsing inside. Because if there's one thing Dylan Carter always knew how to do, it was destroy my composure without lifting a finger. The producers didn't waste time and handed us our first game. We all sat in the lounge, a giant screen glowing on the wall. Each of us had a tablet in front of us and the rules were simple. Send one anonymous message to someone in the villa. Could be romantic, playful, or just encouraging. The screen would reveal who received messages but never who sent them. "Time to see who makes your heart skip," the producer announced cheerfully from behind the cameras. I stared at the tablet, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I could already imagine what Dylan would write, what Jamie would receive, and what the internet would turn it into. I wasn't about to feed that narrative. So I typed a simple line and sent it to Nicholas. "You did well today. Don't doubt yourself. Keep smiling." It wasn't romantic. It wasn't dramatic. But Nicholas was the kind of guy who deserved at least one message in his inbox, and I figured no one else would think of him. The screen lit up with the first incoming message. Nicholas blinked in surprise as the words appeared. "You did well today. Don't doubt yourself. Keep smiling." His cheeks went pink and he gave a small, awkward laugh. Thanks whoever you are." I smiled to myself, quiet relief washing over me. Until the next message popped up. "Sometimes I wonder if blocking me erased me from your heart or if you still think of me too." My chest tightened instantly. I knew that voice. The phrasing, the weight behind it was Dylan. It had to be. He was reckless enough to send something like that, knowing full well only I would understand. The others erupted with speculation. "Oh, that's intense. Mason said, whistling low. Romantic though, Oliver added, grinning at Jamie. The camera cut to her, and Jamie gave the perfect bashful smile, tucking her hair behind her ear as though she believed the message was hers. And of course the livestream comments exploded with hearts and fire emojis, crowning her as Dylan's obvious target. But Dylan made a mistake. For the briefest second after the words appeared, his eyes flicked toward me. Not long enough for the others to notice, but the cameras caught everything. The fans loved overanalyzing, and that was all it took. The comments turned sharp. Wait, did he just glance at Charlotte? No way, why would he look at her? She looks so stiff. So awkward. Why is she even here? I curled my fingers tight in my lap, my nails biting into my skin as if that could anchor me. I kept my expression neutral, but inside I was shaking. Dylan knew what he was doing. He knew one glance was enough to set the internet on fire, and I would be the one scorched by it. The morning after the heart message game, the villa smelled like coffee and frying butter. The cameras were already humming in the corners, their little red lights blinking, ready to catch the day's first cracks. Jamie was, of course, at the stove. She wore a cropped sweater and pastel shorts, her hair perfectly tousled in that effortless way that probably took half an hour in front of a mirror. She flipped eggs with a practiced flick of the wrist, smiling sweetly at Dylan, who sat at the counter nursing a mug of coffee. They looked like a commercial for domestic bliss. I headed for the pantry, determined to stay out of it, when Nicholas appeared at my side. His hair was still mussed from sleep, his smile tentative. "Morning," he said quietly. "You hungry?" "Starving," I admitted, reaching for the pancake mix. "Pancakes?" His eyes brightened a little. "Yeah. You want some?" "Definitely." I started whisking the batter, relieved to have something simple to focus on. Nicholas hovered nearby, offering to chop strawberries. The quiet steadiness of him was oddly comforting. But peace never lasted long in this villa. "Charlotte," Dylan's voice slid across the kitchen, smooth and casual. "Still making pancakes, huh?" The spatula paused mid-stir. My mind flashed instantly to his apartment years ago, me flipping pancakes while he leaned against the counter, stealing kisses and insisting I made them better than any diner. He knew exactly what memory he was dangling in front of me. Kept my head down. Some habits are hard to break. Oliver, the chef, perked up immediately. Wait, you two used to cook together?" He grinned at the cameras and changed the topic. "Oh, this is getting good. Pancakes versus Jamie's eggs, battle of the breakfasts." Jamie let out a careful laugh, though I caught the faint strain in it. "I don't mind. Dylan's always liked my eggs." The screen beside us lit up with comments. "Hold on. Pancakes are Charlotte's thing? Why does it feel like Dylan knows more than he should?" "Oh, it's Jamie. Has to be Jamie. They're perfect together." I poured the batter into the pan, the hiss of it louder than the chatter around me. Nicholas leaned in just slightly, his voice low enough for only me to hear. "Ignore it. They'll twist it however they want." I gave him a small smile, grateful for the attempt, but then Dylan moved. He set his mug down and crossed to my counter, leaning against it like it belonged to him. His eyes lingered on the golden pancake sizzling in the pan, and for a moment the cameras didn't exist. "Smells amazing," he said softly, his voice pitched lower now. "Better than I remember." My chest tightened. He was doing it on purpose, tugging me back into memories I'd spent months trying to bury. "They're for Nicholas," I said firmly, sliding the pancake onto Nicholas's plate. Nicholas blinked in surprise but smiled at me, murmuring thanks. For a second, Dylan's eyes locked with mine, something raw flickering beneath the smooth surface he always showed the world. Then he straightened, smiled that perfect smile for the cameras, and stepped back as though nothing had happened. The comments erupted. "Did you see that look? Why did Dylan move to Charlotte's counter? No way, this triangle is heating up." Jamie's laugh rang out again, a shade too sharp this time. She leaned across Dylan's abandoned mug, setting down a plate of eggs with a flourish. "Dylan, here. Just how you like them." He took the plate, thanked her politely, but his eyes flicked once more in my direction before he dug in. The internet had caught it. The producers had caught it. Me. I stood frozen at the stove, spatula in hand, painfully aware that I was standing in the middle of a battlefield I never wanted to fight. After breakfast, the next game was announced. A haunted escape room. Because apparently locking us in a dark maze with fake corpses and timed puzzles was peak entertainment. When the pairs were drawn, my stomach sank. Dylan and me. The villa buzzed with reactions. Mason whistled low, clearly entertained. Oliver grinned like he'd just been handed popcorn. Jamie's smile slipped for half a second before she plastered it back on, clapping her hands as if she were thrilled for us. We arrived at the venue that night. The building looked like an abandoned asylum, its paint peeling, its windows cracked. Fog machines hissed at the entrance. I heard Dylan mutter under his breath, "Great. Just great." "Scared already?" I asked lightly, tugging at my jacket zipper. He shot me a look. "I'm not scared. Just cautious." "Right. Cautious." Inside, the lights dimmed to an eerie glow. A distorted voice over the speakers explained the rules. Find clues, solve puzzles, and escape the series of rooms before the clock hit 0. Oh, and expect the occasional jump scare. The first room looked like a decrepit hospital ward. Beds with rusted frames lined the walls. Mannequin patients slumped beneath stained sheets. A trail of red paint, at least I hoped it was paint-streaked, across the floor. Dylan hovered close the moment the door slammed shut behind us. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. I rolled my eyes and moved toward the first puzzle. A locked chest with a code. A blacklight flashlight sat on the table. Obvious. I switched it on, sweeping the walls until glowing numbers appeared. 372, I said. "Try it." Dylan fumbled with the lock, his hands not nearly as steady as he liked to pretend. The chest clicked open to reveal a key and we moved into the next room. This one was worse. A morgue set, drawers lining the walls, a cold mist curling at our feet. As I searched for clues, a costumed actor in tattered scrubs lurched from the shadows, groaning. Dylan swore loudly, stumbling back. Before I could stop him, he latched onto my wrist, squeezing so hard I nearly dropped the flashlight. "Don't let go," he whispered, his voice hoarse, too real for the cameras. For a moment my heart betrayed me. The heat of his hand, the raw panic in his voice, it was too familiar. Too much like the boy who used to cling to me in thunderstorms. I forced myself to focus. "Relax. It's fake. Just hold on to my sleeve if you have to, but let me work." He didn't let go. But he followed my lead as I checked drawers, finding scraps of paper that formed a code. The lock clicked again and we stumbled into the third room. This one was pure nightmare fuel. A child's bedroom, dolls with cracked faces staring from every corner, a rocking horse creaking by itself. Somewhere in the dark, a recording of a girl's laughter played on loop. Dylan was practically glued to my side now. "Charlotte dash. Don't start," I said, though my voice was softer this time. The puzzle was trickier here, but I spotted it. Shadows cast by the dolls spelled out letters. Together we pieced it into a word and unlocked the final door. The last room was a chapel, dark and cold, with a bloodied mannequin kneeling at the altar. The exit glowed faintly behind it, locked with one final keypad. I knelt, scanning the floor until I spotted candle holders arranged in a pattern. "It's a code," I said quickly. 529. The lock beeped open. The door creaked. And just as we ran through, a cloaked figure lunged from the shadows, shrieking. Dylan yelped, full body flinch, and shoved me forward, gripping my hand like a lifeline. We burst out into the hallway, laughing and gasping, my chest heaving with adrenaline. The cameras were there, waiting, capturing every detail. Dylan's flushed face. Our tangled hands. The way he leaned against the wall, still holding onto me long after the scare had passed. I pulled my hand free, heart still racing. "You can let go now." We escaped. His lips curved into a crooked smile. "Maybe I don't want to." The comments on the livestream lit up the screen. He grabbed her hand. "Did you see the way he looked at her? Wait, is Charlotte actually the ex? No way. Has to be Jamie. Right. Jamie's face flashed across the broadcast, her expression carefully neutral, though her nails dug into her palms. Then, as if a switch had flipped, she tilted her head and gave a soft laugh, that airy sound she always used to disarm people. "Charlotte was sweet to help Dylan in there," she told the cameras, her smile sugary and faultless. "But really, anyone would have. He was just nervous. We shouldn't create scandals out of nowhere." The words were harmless on the surface, but I heard the bite beneath them. A reminder to the audience. I wasn't special. I hadn't done anything but hold a scared man's hand. Dylan's hand. The one he hadn't let go of until the cameras caught too much. The livestream chat exploded instantly. "Oh, Jamie is so gracious." "Exactly, Charlotte's just being made into something bigger than she is." Jamie and Dylan are the real couple, don't twist it. Jamie knew exactly what she was doing. The rest of the day she worked like a surgeon, slicing me out of every frame without spilling a drop of blood. She leaned into Dylan during the group challenge, giggling when their shoulders touched. She clung to his arm during a team game, making sure the cameras had the perfect angle. At lunch, she slid his water bottle closer with a laugh. Dylan always forgets to hydrate, as if she were already his girlfriend. Every move was deliberate. Every laugh a bullet aimed at me. And the cameras loved her for it. By the time the episode aired that night, the edit told a crystal-clear story. Dylan and Jamie, the golden pair. And me hovering awkwardly, ruining their glow. The comments were merciless. Charlotte's ruining their chemistry. She's jealous, you can see it in her face. He needs to go. She's a dead weight in the show. I sat in my room, scrolling through the feed until my eyes blurred. My name was everywhere, spat back at me like poison. Every insult dug deeper than the last, and I hated that part of me still cared. I hated that a world of strangers could make me feel smaller than I already did. And then, as if the hate wasn't enough, someone dug into the past. Old clips from a drama Jamie and I had filmed together resurfaced online. Except this time the footage was edited. Moments where our characters fought were cut to look like I had bullied her on set. Headlines bloomed overnight. Charlotte Walker's jealousy resurfaces. Industry insider. Walker's toxic attitude behind the scenes. The internet didn't just dislike me now. They despised me. I was the villain of the story, the jealous ex, the problem no one wanted. I locked myself in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror until my vision warped. The girl staring back at me looked like she'd already lost. What I didn't know was that Dylan was already moving. Quietly, behind the scenes, he was calling in favors, pulling strings, spending money he didn't have to spend just to scrub my name from the mud. By morning, half the ugliest articles had mysteriously vanished. Smear posts disappeared. Hashtags lost traction. And then he did something I never expected. The next day, during a media appearance tied to the show, when a reporter casually asked about the online drama, Dylan smiled, that maddening practice smile of his. But his voice when he answered carried weight. "Charlotte is a lovely and kind woman," he said, firmly enough to silence the room. "She doesn't deserve the hate she's been getting." For a second the villa was stunned. Even the producers looked up from their monitors, wide-eyed. And online? The live stream went dead silent before exploding all over again. Wait, what? Dylan defended her? If he's defending her, maybe she really is the ex. No way, I thought it was Jamie. Charlotte doesn't look so bad after all. Jamie's smile didn't falter, but I saw the way her nails dug half-moons into her palm beneath the table. For me, Dylan's words were both a balm and a blade. Because he was right, I didn't deserve the hate. But hearing him defend me after all the silence, after all the years of unanswered texts and calls, was almost too much. Public opinion didn't flip overnight, but the tide had shifted. Small voices rose in my defense. Some fans began questioning the edited clips. Others started pointing out how carefully Jamie played for the cameras. It wasn't much, but for the first time since stepping into this nightmare, I could breathe again. Just a little. Just enough to feel like maybe I wasn't completely alone. By the weekend, the producers decided to stir the pot even further. They set up a circle of chairs in the lounge, dimmed the lights, and announced a round of truth or dare. The rules were simple. Draw a card and whatever's written on it, you do. It was chaos from the start. Mason was dared to sing his most embarrassing karaoke song. Sophia was asked if she'd ever dated someone for clout. Oliver had to give Rachel a piggyback ride across the room. The cameras lapped it up, the laughter, the blushes, the awkward silences. And then my turn came. I pulled a card from the stack, my stomach already twisting. My eyes skimmed the words and I froze. Call your ex and tell them one thing you regret. I gave a stiff laugh, shaking my head. I can't. I don't have his number anymore. He's blocked. Everywhere. A ripple of curiosity shot through the circle. Mason let out a low whistle. Ouch. I tried to shrug it off, but I could feel the weight of the cameras, the producers practically salivating. I placed the card back, waiting for the next person to move on. Then Dylan drew his card. He looked at it, his mouth twitching as if fate itself had handed him the script. He lifted his gaze, met the camera head-on and said evenly, "Truth. The question is, what's one thing you want from your ex right now?" The room buzzed. Everyone leaned closer. Jamie laughed nervously, brushing her hair back as though she were already preparing for the spotlight. But Dylan's eyes didn't land on her. They landed squarely on me. "I'd want her," he said slowly, his voice smooth but threaded with something raw, "to take me off her blocked list. To let me call. To let me explain." The silence that followed was deafening. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs. He wasn't hiding it anymore. Not even pretending. He had just handed the entire villa and the entire internet the truth I'd been trying so hard to bury. Mason's jaw dropped. Oliver muttered, "Oh, this is getting good." Nicholas glanced at me with something close to sympathy. Jamie's smile flickered, cracking like thin glass. The livestream chat exploded on the screen beside us. "Block list? It's Charlotte, it has to be Charlotte. Is Dylan confessing right now?" Jamie looks so uncomfortable. The producer, unable to resist, piped in from off-camera. "And if she unblocked you, Dylan, what would you say?" Dylan leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving mine. "I'd say she gave me the best years of my life. And I'd ask for another chance." Gasps echoed through the room. Rachel's hand flew to her mouth. Sophia muttered, "Wow. Me." I sat frozen, my nails digging crescents into my palms, the world tilting beneath me. Because Dylan had just done the one thing I'd sworn I wouldn't let happen. He'd dragged our private history into the spotlight in front of millions, leaving me nowhere to hide. The room was still reeling from Dylan's words when Jamie gave a light, brittle laugh. "That's sweet," she said, her tone perfectly measured. "But maybe we should all remember this as a game. Dylan was just answering a question, nothing more. Let's not make scandals out of it." Her eyes flicked to me, sharp as glass, before she smoothed her features back into a mask of innocence. The rest of the evening passed in a blur, but I felt the change. Jamie clung tighter to Dylan, her hand brushing his arm, her laugh filling every silence. She angled herself so the cameras always caught her at his side, always in his frame. The message was clear. She was still the female lead of this story, and I was nothing more than the unwanted understudy. But Jamie wasn't finished. 2 nights later, while we were filming a group challenge in the garden, the producers called for a quick break. The cameras kept rolling in wide shots as crew members shuffled equipment. I bent down to tie my shoelace when a sharp cry split the air. "Ah!" I snapped my head up just in time to see Jamie stumble backwards, her heel catching on the grass before she crumpled to the ground. Her hands went up dramatically, her face twisted in pain. "Oh, it hurts," she whimpered, voice shaking. Everyone rushed over. Oliver was the first to kneel, panic written all over his face. "Jamie, are you okay? What happened?" Jamie blinked up through glossy lashes, her breath hitching. Then she pointed a trembling finger at me. "Charlotte. She pushed me." The courtyard went silent. Crew members glanced at each other, and then 2 of them nodded too quickly, too decisively. My mouth fell open. "What? No, I didn't even touch you." But Jamie was already sniffling, her voice breaking just enough to sound fragile. I felt at her hand on my back. I don't know why she did it. The livestream cameras had caught the tail end of her fall and her accusation. Within minutes, the internet was already ablaze. Charlotte pushed Jamie. Violence? On a dating show? Unbelievable. Jealousy made her snap. Disgusting behavior. She should be banned from the industry. 2 staff members murmured to each other, one nodding as if confirming her story. My stomach dropped. Bribed. She had bribed them. I felt heat crawl up my throat, rage and fear choking me at once. "That's not true," I shouted, my voice trembling with the sheer injustice of it. "I didn't touch you." But the cameras had already swung toward Jamie, capturing her watery eyes, her trembling hands, the perfect picture of innocence. Within hours, clips of her fall were circulating online. My phone buzzed with notifications until my hands went numb. My name was everywhere, dragged through the mud with words like abuser, toxic, dangerous. Strangers demanded my removal from the show. Others went further, typing out death threats as casually as grocery lists. I stood frozen in the villa garden as the crew helped Jamie up, her sobs delicate, pitiful, perfect for the cameras. I wanted to scream, to tear the lie apart right there, but I knew it would only make me look guilty. So I stayed quiet, silent rage boiling beneath my skin. What Jamie didn't know was that my phone had been recording, tucked into my pocket. Something about the way she had stalked around me earlier had set my instincts on fire. And now that decision would be the only thing that saved me. So when I went live 2 days later, my heart pounding so hard it hurt, I had proof. The viewer count shot into the hundreds of thousands within minutes. Hate comments flooded the feed before I even opened my mouth. Admit it. I saw you. You're finished. I held my phone steady, my voice shaking but clear. You all deserve to see what really happened. Then I played the video. Jamie's performance unraveled frame by frame. The deliberate pause before her gasp. The calculated backward fall. Her eyes flicking to the crew before she even hit the ground. And finally, her accusation, my name spilling from her lips like a rehearsed line. The chat detonated. Wait, she staged it. Oh my God. Look at her eyes, she planned it. We were manipulated. She lied. How could we fall for this? I defended her. I actually defended her. Shock turned to betrayal. Betrayal turned to rage. And Jamie's empire, built on sweetness and smiles, began to crumble. But Dylan wasn't finished. The very next morning he released receipts, screenshots, messages, ironclad proof. Crew members admitting they'd been bribed. Timelines showing how Jamie had planted several accusations. Notes from editors revealing she'd pushed for clips to be cut in ways that made me look like the villain. Every single trick she had pulled was dragged into the light. And then Dylan addressed the rumor that had fueled everything, the so-called Dylan and Jamie romance. He looked straight into the camera, his expression calm but sharp enough to cut. The pairing between Jamie and me was never real, he said. It was scripted chemistry for a drama and carried over into this variety show because it made good television. But off-screen there was nothing between us. I never encouraged it, and I regret that it went on long enough to hurt someone who mattered to me. The internet, once so eager to worship her, turned vicious. Sponsors dropped her within hours. Fan pages vanished. The same hashtags that once crowned her perfect now burned with fury. Jamie Summers cancelled. Justice for Charlotte. Apologize to her now. And Jamie? Her career collapsed in real time. For me, the air shifted. The same people who had cursed my name now wrote apologies, weak and belated. Some admitted they had been wrong. Others turned their anger fully on Jamie. My reputation, once shredded, was slowly stitched back together, not by my own hands, but by truth and by Dylan. Because in the end, when he could have stayed silent, when he could have chosen to protect his image, Dylan chose me. And it was that choice, not the receipts, not the livestream, that cracked something open inside me I thought I'd buried. The final episode arrived sooner than I expected. Weeks of chaos, whispers, and scandals all funneled into this single moment, the men choosing their love interests. We gathered in the villa garden, a makeshift stage glowing under strings of fairy lights. Cameras hummed, the air charged with tension. My heart thudded in my chest as one by one, the men stepped forward with their choices. Some confessions were sweet, some awkward, a few predictable. But when Nicholas's name was called, my breath caught. He walked toward me with a nervous smile, a bouquet trembling slightly in his hands. Charlotte, he said softly, his voice carrying even in the hush of the crowd, you've been a light in this place. You're kind, steady, and you see people for who they are. I like you. And I'd like the chance to see where this could go. The audience sighed, touched. Nicholas was sincere, earnest. My chest warmed, but my stomach twisted at the same time. Because even as he spoke, I could feel the weight of another gaze on me. Then Dylan stepped forward. The air shifted instantly. He didn't carry flowers. He didn't need to. His presence alone commanded the space. The cameras swung toward him like they were pulled by gravity. He stopped in front of me, his eyes burning into mine. Charlotte. My name on his lips. After everything, it still made my knees weak. I need you to know something, he said, his voice steady but threaded with emotion. I never agreed to our breakup. Not in my heart. Not for a second. I've always loved you. The words hit me like a wave. My throat tightened, my eyes stung. I tried to look away, but he stepped closer, refusing to let me escape. I made mistakes, Dylan continued, his voice thickening. I kept a secret because I thought I was protecting you from my fans, from the pressure, from the spotlight. I thought I was doing the right thing, but all I did was make you feel like you weren't worth being seen. That was wrong. That was cowardice. The garden was silent except for his words, every contestant frozen, every crew member holding their breath. And then I disappeared. 6 months filming in the mountains with no reception, no way to reach you. I thought I could make it up to you when I came back, but when I did, you were gone. And I regretted it every single day. I regret it still. Losing you has been the biggest mistake of my life." The cameras caught every flicker of his expression, every tremor in his voice. My chest ached. Tears blurred my vision as I stared at him, at the boy who once danced with me in the dark, who once kissed me like I was his world. And now, the man standing in front of me, laying himself bare in front of millions. Dylan's voice dropped, intimate, desperate. "I don't want to hide anymore. Not from them. Not from you. If you let me, I'll spend every day proving that I'm still yours. That I never stopped being yours." The audience, the contestants, the entire internet seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Me. I broke. The wall I had built, brick by brick, to keep him out crumbled under the weight of his words. I stepped closer, my voice trembling. "I hated you for leaving me in the dark. For making me feel invisible. But I loved you even more for every memory I couldn't erase. And I can't pretend I don't still love you." The garden erupted with cheers, but I barely heard them. Dylan's arms were already around me, pulling me against him, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. He buried his face against my hair, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance." The livestream exploded with joy. "She's the ex. It was always Charlotte. Finally, the truth, we knew it. Dylan and Charlotte forever. This is the real love story." Nicholas, bless him, smiled faintly from the sidelines, his eyes sad but understanding. The others clapped, some tearing up at the rawness of it all. Life after love signals felt like waking up in a different world. The hate that once followed my name like a shadow evaporated, replaced by something I had almost forgotten, the taste of support. Offers started to arrive, real ones. Not the scraps I used to beg my agent to chase down, but scripts from directors who suddenly saw me as more than background noise. One in particular stood out. A lead role in a gritty drama where I would play a complex, ambitious woman clawing her way through betrayal and revenge. It was the kind of role I had always dreamed of, the kind that demanded everything from you. For once, people were talking about my talent, not my scandals. Fans who had once cursed me now filled my feed with messages of encouragement. They called me inspiring, strong, even their new favorite actress. Through it all, Dylan was there. Not in the shadows, not in secret, but by my side. He attended my first press conference after the casting was announced, standing quietly in the back, watching with a smile that reached his eyes. When the cameras caught him clapping the loudest, the internet melted. He didn't shy away from supporting me openly anymore. If I posted a behind-the-scenes shot, he commented with some teasing remark that sent fans spiraling. When interviews asked about us, he answered without hesitation, "Charlotte is the most talented person I know. And she's also the love of my life." It was surreal, after all the hiding and heartbreak, to finally be able to laugh with him in public. To walk down the street holding his hand without worrying about who was watching. To share small, ordinary moments, grocery shopping, cooking dinner, arguing about which movie to watch without fear. For once, ordinary life was extraordinary. Our careers flourished side by side, his films drawing crowds, my drama climbing in ratings. Our love became something different too, not the reckless, headlong rush of youth, but something steadier, stronger. Built on scars that had healed into reminders of how easily we could have lost each other. And every time Dylan reached for my hand, every time his lips curved into that crooked smile just for me, I remembered what it felt like to believe he was mine forever. Only this time he really was.